Matt Ryan making his way up to our set here at Flowery Branch for training camp. And here comes the quarterback. Morning to you, Matt. He'll
Morning.
Morning. Take a seat here, and we'll talk with Matt Ryan, star quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. And our coverage continues here. Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you.
Matty Ice, going into was this your 9th training camp?
9th training camp.
How do you feel?
I feel great. You know, since they took away those 2 days, you feel really good during training camp. It's changed a lot. It really has since when I got into the league, and just the structure, the schedule, all that kind of stuff. There's been a lot made of player safety. I mean, honestly, that's been a hot button issue. But I think their adjustments to training camp have been really good, really good. Players feel a lot more fresh, and I think their bodies hold up better.
Okay, let's go to the end of the season. I'm just going to ask you flat out. Did you call Coach Quinn and say, Coach, we need to get Alex Mack up in here? How crucial were you in making that thing happen for this team?
At the end of the year interviews, obviously, when you talk with the coaches, you're candid and you're honest about certain things, and offensive line is one of the things came up. I thought Mike Person did a good job for us last year for the majority of the year, but they felt like we could add to that spot. And, probably the biggest way I helped, I saw Alex out at the Super Bowl and thought there was a chance he was going to be up for free agency, and told him I thought Atlanta would be a good spot for him. And I'm happy he's here. He's done a great job during training camp. He really has.
Matt Ryan joining John and Hugh live here at Flowery Branch as we dodge the raindrops this morning here for Day 7 of Falcons training camp. Let's talk a little bit about the wide receivers. You have the known commodity in Julio Jones. When you went down to Miami with the wide receivers, the 27 players you took, Matt, down there to work on their game. Mohamed Sanu, we were just talking about him, such a big frame. He seems like the guy you can target because he gets those shoulders square to you and he kind of blocks out the defenders, and that seems like it would be a great advantage to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things that was important for me this offseason was to get an extra opportunity to work with some of our new guys. I had been fortunate for most of my career. I had played with guys that I had played with for a long time, whether you have Roddy White or Harry Douglas or Tony Gonzalez or Julio Jones. I mean, these were guys that, I had spent, 5, 6, 7, 8 years with and knew them really well. And this year it's different. You have different guys coming in, Justin Hardy stepping up for us in the middle of last season, but Mohamed Sanu's done a great job, and I think his skill set is people are going to be excited about him. I mean, he's a big guy. I don't think you realize how big he is until you see him in person, but he's really quick. He's really good in the middle of the field. He's got great ball skills. I mean, can catch a ball on the outside. I think he's really going to help us.
You know what, Matt? Talking about the old format when you had the 2-a-days and the old practices and everything like that, how much pressure do you feel to get prepared for the season since you have so much time that's condensed now with working with your receivers, and then you got these 2 rotations and everything? How much more is it condensed, and how important is it to get that good work every day out there?
Yeah, that's the important part. Back when I was a rookie, or my first 3 years when we still had 2 days, I mean there was, you could get it corrected on the field because you had so much practice time. I mean, you were on the practice field for what felt like 6 or 8 hours a day. And I mean, you were just going. And it's shorter now. We're on the practice field going at full speed for a shorter amount of time. So I think there's, like you mentioned, there's a greater sense of urgency to get it done every time you're on the field, to be as productive as you can be. But I think where the onus comes on you as a player is during those meeting times. I mean, you have to be productive during your meeting time and during your walkthrough. In order to get out of training camp what you want to get out of it.
Matt Ryan joining us here live on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game with John and Hugh. What is your goal for this offense? I mean, I know what your goal for the team is. Obviously, we want to make the playoffs, etc. But for this offense, can you envision this offense being potent enough to be back to scoring 30-plus a game?
Absolutely. I think so. And I think we've got the right people to do it. We've got a strong offensive line, great running backs, 2 great young running backs. I'm really fired up about, Devontae, obviously the season he had last year was incredibly productive, but I think Tevin Coleman is a young guy who's coming into his second year. I think he's going to make great strides for us as well. So I think we've got the talent to do it. I think we've got the scheme to do it. And, now it just comes down to going out there and cutting it loose and making plays, and that's the fun part.
You know what, Matt, since you're the only quarterback that I kind of like and I know your family, I feel like I can ask you this question because I've always been curious about this. As a quarterback, you have to sit there front and center every Sunday after every game, and you have to answer some really, really tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it for you to go through a season like the one you had last year? It wasn't a bad season, but a lot of people were saying a lot of things about this team, and you just had to sit there front and center. You couldn't really tell people how you really felt. You just had to sit front and center and just do the job. How hard was that for you to do that?
That's part of the responsibility of leadership, and that's part of the responsibility of playing the position that I play. And to think that you can handle it any other way, you're wrong. Because it's just one of those things. Head coaches and quarterbacks have wins and losses attached to their name. No other position, no other coach has that. And when you have that on there, there's an added level of responsibility that goes with that. And for me, is it hard? Yeah. Sometimes you want to answer questions and say, listen, that's a –
you want to be petty.
That question is, that's a dumb question or whatever. But I don't think that solves anything. That doesn't get anything done, and that doesn't help your chances of winning the following week. And for me, I think as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more mature, I think that everything you do as a quarterback, whether it be on the field, off the field, answering questions, whatever, has to be with the mindset of helping our team win games. And that's usually the way that I approach all things.
Matt Ryan, Falcons starting quarterback, joining John and Hugh live from Flowery Branch here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Today, Dwight Freeney is supposed to arrive here in camp.
Yeah, that's exciting. Obviously a veteran guy who's had an unbelievable career, can get after the passer. There's no question about that. I'm excited about that. I thought he was really productive for Arizona last year in limited games. I think, 8 sacks maybe in 11 games, something like that, which is impressive. So I'm excited to see him here today. Been texting with him the last couple of days, and looking forward to him getting on this field and helping us win games.
When you look at all the new pieces, you look at how Devontae Freeman, you talked about Devontae Freeman's year, you talk about Tevin Coleman and what he could potentially be. When you look at this offense, how potent can this offense potentially be?
Well, I think we can be pretty good, because I think last year we really improved at running the ball. I think that was important for us. I think we got much better in our play-action game as the year went on. I think the number one thing is we've got to be better in the red area. If we can really dial in and get tightened up in that area and be extremely efficient and score a lot of touchdowns when we were down there. We were down there a ton. We turned the ball over too much down there, and we didn't come away with enough touchdowns. I think if we can really, improve as an offense in that area, you talk about putting a lot more points on the board, and that's what it's all about.
You know what, I want to ask you about the red zone, because I think that people don't really understand how much faster things move in that red zone there, that plus 20, as opposed to the rest of the field. Could you talk about that a little bit and how things are different down there in that red zone as opposed to working the whole field?
Well, number one, there's a 12th defender on the field. That end line, the back of the end zone, is the best defensive player on the field, because he allows everybody to bump coverage, to move things up, for safeties to play a lot lower, which, number one, makes it more difficult to run the ball. When you have safeties that are 5-6 yards off the ball, it becomes increasingly difficult to just run the ball in because you're playing against a 9-man box. And then in the pass game, spacing is just so tight. And what you see a lot of down there, especially in second and long and third down situations, is two-man rush. And when you've got 9 guys in coverage in space, with basically 5 or 6 guys underneath, and your other 3 in the back end, it makes it difficult to throw the ball. Where we have to be better is in that fringe area where you have shots from maybe the 25 to the 15, where you have some more space. We've got to score touchdowns from there. We've got to create explosive plays and score touchdowns from there. And then when we get it inside the 5, we have to have the mindset that there's no way you can stop us. We have to be tough up front and run the ball right down people's throat and score touchdowns.
Matt Ryan joining us live. What have you seen from your perspective of these young – we talk so much about now here in camp, Keanu Neal, Devondre Campbell, Deion Jones, the impact that those 3 rookies have had, and others. What have you seen from your perspective?
Well, those 3 guys you mentioned are good players. Keanu Neal's, he's an extremely physical player. We saw that day one we put on pads, right? He wanted to get in the mix, and you got to be smart as teammates, but part of you's encouraged when you see that kind of stuff. You want to see that from your defensive guys. And then our 2 linebackers, Devondre Campbell is one of the bigger linebackers I've ever seen in my life for in terms of height, his speed, his ability to cover backs out of the backfield, and I think he's going to be solid. And Dion, I mean, he's another guy. Both these guys, the thing I've been impressed with both of them is their speed. I mean, these guys can flat out run. And that's important in our defense. I mean, those guys are asked to cover a lot of ground and go sideline to sideline.
You know, Matt, when you look at, from your perspective, playing offense and when you're out there running the passing plays, who is the rookie that when you're out there and you're getting ready to run that pass play, that he's almost like the Joker? You know, like when you have to identify who's the rusher and who's the guy that going to give you the most fits. Who is that guy that you've recognized as that person so far in this training camp?
I think it's one of two guys. It's either Devondre Campbell, if he's been matched up with our backs the most part, and typically anytime you get a running back on a linebacker, that's advantage offense, right? That is huge advantage offense. And Devondre's kind of proven that it's a 50-50 ball now. I mean, he's done a really good job with that. Keanu Neal's another guy. I mean, you have to know, in terms of pass protection, you have to know where he's at. He's done a great job covering our tight ends, but he's also done a great job in their blitz scheme. I mean, he's looked really good.
One of the things that Hugh has said is that, he tries to temper me down a little bit, okay? So he says, don't get out over your skis. But I got to tell you, as a fan, even as a talk show host, but as a fan, I expect you guys are going to be really good this year. I really do.
Well, I mean, you never know how a season's going to shake out, right? I mean, that's the one thing I've learned, through 9 seasons or 8 seasons of doing this. But I think there's high expectations in our locker room, and there's a standard that we have set for each other in how we're going to work. We're not worried about the outcome right now. We're worried about the process. And for the next 4 or 5 weeks before we get to that regular season, it's about competing every day on that practice field to get as good as we can get, so that we're successful during the regular season and give ourselves a chance into the postseason. But I'm excited about it. I know the guys in our locker room are, and we're controlling the one thing that we can right now. We're working our tails off to go out there and get better.
How much is is training camp devoted to trying like some new things? Because a lot of people that listen to our radio station and a lot of people out there, they put a lot of emphasis on, Matt threw this many picks a day and everything like that. So I just wanted to try to clarify a little bit how much time in practice is really emphasized on like working on new things or trying some new wrinkles in the offense.
A lot of it, that's what this time of the year is about. It's about pushing thresholds. It's about finding what we're good at, what we're not good at, and figuring those things out. And there's certainly some new wrinkles, some new things that we're working on and going out there. And there's also some different things that defenses are working on, stuff that we haven't seen. So, the biggest thing is trying to figure out what we're going to be and who we're going to be. And I think that's the process we're going through right now.
When I envision this offense, I see what Mohamed Sanu on one side and Trick Montalban on the other side. Am I wrong in thinking that you could have Tevin? There's some backfield sets where you have Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman back there.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of different things. I think the cool thing about what we have right now with some of our young guys, and even our tight ends, some of the guys we've picked up at tight ends, Austin Hooper, and we can put different personnel groupings out on the field, and that, as well as anybody, that makes it difficult for defenses to go against. When you keep changing your personnel groupings out on the field and putting guys in different places, when you have versatile players like that, it's tough to defend. And I think we've got the kind of guys that you can do things like that.
Going to be a fun year. I can tell you right now is that we are all excited, Matt, about the kind of season that this potentially could be for you, for the team, and for the last season of the. Can you believe it's the last season?
I know it. It's crazy. It is. It's crazy. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And just to let you know, every now and then it's okay to be petty. So if you feel like one of the reporters is asking a stupid question, just say, "Hugh told me to tell you. Just get off just leave me alone. Back up off me."
Well, now that you brought it up, I got a few things I can talk
about.
Go for
it. Let it go, man. Let it
go. Matt Ryan, thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan live here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game as we get set for practice today. Again, 10 a.m. here in what is a rainy Flowery Branch this morning. If you can't make it here, Friday Night Lights tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, open to the public, free to the public at Grayson High School. Our coverage of Friday Night Lights will begin at 2 with Dukes and Bell, and then the special show with